I'm Bridget Stomberg.
And I'm Lisa DeSimone.
And this is Taxes for the Masses.
Today's episode is on the tax implications of international students in the U.S., both while they're in school and if they choose to stay and work in the U.S.
After running a presidential campaign during which he promised to be tough on immigration, the Trump administration announced in September 2025 an increase in the application fee for H-1B visas that are required by non-citizens to enter into the United States and work. Later guidance clarified that this increased fee would apply only to future applications for non-citizens who are not already in the U.S. under a different visa status. In this episode, we break down the different types of visas typically used by international students in the U.S. and what they mean for their tax obligations to the U.S. Hello, Lisa.
Hello, B.
How is spring of 2026 treating you so far?
No comment.
Okay. Anything to report about weather, school, life? When does baseball start?
Baseball's starting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do we think the Dodgers are going to do it again this year?
Yes.
I love that. No hesitation at all.
No hesitation.
So are they back-to-back currently?
Yes.
So this would be a three-peat.
It would be a three-peat.
Talk to me about the history of three-peats in Major League Baseball.
I don't even think back-to-back was ever done.
Really?
No, that's not true. That's not true. The Yankees, I'm pretty sure, did the Yankees do a three-peat? They might have done a three-peat.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you think it's going to happen?
Under the Jeter era, so like 20 years ago or something.
Okay.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
I like that confidence. What is your favorite thing about baseball?
Falling asleep to it?
Yeah, that's what I thought. Which just, sure. Okay. Good times.
I don't know. It's not just, I mean, the postseason's fun. I don't know. It's America's pastime.
Yes, absolutely.
Don't question it.
I'm sorry. You are not teaching this spring.
I am teaching this spring.
You are teaching this spring. What? I don't know anything. What are you teaching?
So I was teaching an international tax class that was a half semester class that we capped off with a trip to Switzerland and the Netherlands.
Ah, very nice.
Yeah.
I similarly am teaching an 8-week class that we are going to cap off with a trip to Singapore.
Okay, there you go.
All right, so then the topic for today seems pretty salient to that.
Yes.
So question for you, how many of your students in a given course, not just this one that you're talking about, but in any given course over the last several years that you've been teaching, what percentage or how many, however you want to think about it, would you say are not U.S. citizens?
Ooh, that's a good question. I always have several. And, you know, I don't like to make assumptions.
No.
I'm not 100% sure if someone is a U.S. citizen or not. But given the details they provide or the questions they ask me, then I'd say as many as a third.
Okay.
For the courses that I've taught in our full-time MBA program, and probably more like 10% in our Masters of Accounting program.
Okay.
And I think those numbers are reflective of the population of MBA and Masters of Accounting students at McCombs. How about you?
I would... Same caveats that you just offered, but I would say fewer and fewer over time.
Oh, really?
And the way that I could tell is exactly what you said. You know, we teach tax classes, and so I would always get students coming up and asking me questions about their own tax situation as a non-citizen.
Yeah.
I would never know what to tell them.
No. Okay.
So maybe word got around, and that's why the questions are fewer.
Okay.
Or maybe it's fewer because I have fewer students who have those questions to ask.
Okay.
But
fair enough.
Either way, it's fewer.
And what would you say are the most represented countries that you got asked about?
At IU it was Asian countries, both East Asia and then India as well. So, and oftentimes about work-study jobs or, you know, some of them internships, things of that nature. And I just always would kind of stare at them blankly and say, I seriously hope that the Office of International Affairs can offer you some assistance.
Says their tax professor.
Their tax professor. Because I'm trying to keep these kids out of trouble.
Helpful. So in addition to, you know, China, Singapore, Taiwan, India, at McCombs, we also have a lot of Latin America, particularly Mexico.
Yeah.
But, you know, Peru, Chile, but a lot from Mexico too.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So bottom line is I'm happy today that we're finally turning to this topic because it affects a fair number of our students. I'm hopeful that at the end of this episode, I will have more helpful things to say to them.
Yeah.
So we're going to basically talk about what the tax implications are for international students who are transitioning from their life as college students to actual working professionals in the U.S. And maybe before they eventually head home. They might stay here, they might not, but we're going to talk about that transition time.
Yeah, I agree. I'm very glad that we're finally turning to this topic. I think it's extremely relevant given how big of a policy issue immigration and work visas and H-1B visas especially have become for the Trump administration. And the changing policies haven't been totally clear. No. They seem to keep evolving.
Yep.
And I can't even imagine how stressful this must be for our students and colleagues who are not U.S. citizens or permanent residents.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think the stress levels are astronomical. I know we had some students last year who were affected by visa issues and visa cancellations. And, you know, being a college student is already stressful enough.
Yeah.
Trying to think about the job market is stressful enough. And then if you add having to navigate the immigration system to it, I mean, it's a lot.
Yeah.
And if that wasn't enough in and of itself, they also have to figure out the taxes.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody wants to think about taxes.
I mean, we do. We like
but
it.
Not my own taxes. I never
weird.
want to think about my own. I want to think about somebody else's taxes.
Okay.
But these students have to deal with all of that stress and then the stress of our tax system as well, which we've talked about so many times is not super intuitive or friendly.
Correct.
Or easy.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So there's a lot to unpack
there
here.
Is.
So let's get to it.
Okay.
Our goals today are to give a summary of the U.S. visa system that grants international students the right to study in the U.S. and then continue working here once they graduate. And then we'll talk about how these students and grads are taxed in the U.S. So that they can better understand how much they're going to be able to take home.
And me too, I hope.
Okay,
so we'll start at the beginning, which is that international students studying in the U.S. are typically here on what we call an F-1 visa. That's the non-immigrant visa that allows them to pursue academic studies. So college, university, high school, anything academic in the U.S.
Yep. And once they graduate, they often transition straight into an opportunity to stay and work for a limited period of time called the Optional Practical Training, or OPT. This is essentially a work authorization that allows F-1 holders to gain temporary real-world experience in the U.S.
And like you said, it's temporary. So an OPT gives a time limit, but it doesn't necessarily have to be short, particularly for STEM graduates. So STEM includes fields like science, technology, engineering, and math, obviously.
STEM.
But more and more degrees certified as STEM include those in our business schools like accounting and MBA programs. And this desire to certify graduate programs as STEM is tied to these benefits.
Absolutely. Yeah. The STEM certification is a big benefit for students. So the standard OPT is limited to 12 months, but STEM grads can apply for a 24-month extension totaling 36 months or 3 years of work experience after they graduate. And then once that expires, they need to leave or find another visa status. Many who wish to stay end up applying for the H-1B visa.
And this H-1B visa is what we've been hearing about more in the news lately.
Yep.
This is a special visa reserved for highly skilled foreign professionals in specialty occupations. And we've been hearing a lot about this because there's some drama, I'd say.
Yep.
Securing this visa often depends on a stressful, one-shot annual lottery registration that takes place in March.
And so if you win the lottery, the employer files the full petition and the H-1B status typically begins on October 1st. If you're not selected, then you have to try again next year or leave the U.S. after their OPT expires. So now let's discuss how this visa hopscotch matters for their taxes.
Okay, so it all comes down to what seems like a simple question.
Okay.
Which is, are you a resident alien or are you a non-resident alien for tax purposes? And just to get it out in the open, I don't like that term alien.
I don't either.
Because we're talking about human beings.
Humans, yes.
Not little green space folk.
No.
But this is the terminology, so we're going to use it, even though I don't think that clearly neither one of us likes it.
Yeah.
But alien here just means non-citizen.
Correct.
So you're not a U.S. citizen. Your residency status as a non-citizen or an alien dictates the entire scope of your tax liability. So generally speaking, your tax liability could be higher if you're considered a resident alien than if you're a non-resident alien. And frankly,
yes,
the rules are really hard.
They are delightfully complex.
Yes.
Yes. The fundamental test here is the substantial presence test.
And that is calculated using a pretty straightforward math formula that involves the days that you are in the U.S. in the current year physically, plus 1/3 of the days that you were in the U.S. last year, plus 1/6 of the days that you were in the U.S. from 2 years ago.
Correct.
So we are weighting your more in the past presence less than we're weighting your current year presence. If that total, current year plus 1/3 of last year plus 1/6 of 2 years ago, equals or exceeds 183 days, which is what?
Half a year.
Half a year. Then you typically meet the substantial presence test, and congratulations, you are a resident alien.
Exactly. But I think maybe an example would be helpful here.
I agree. So let's say you spend 183 days in the U.S. this year.
Okay.
And none in the prior 2 years. Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Substantial presence test is met. You're a resident alien.
Easy enough.
Okay.
Okay. What if I spent 186 days in the U.S. last year when I first came to the U.S. and only 100 days this year?
Okay. So now we're going to start with this year, 100 days.
Okay.
We're going to add 1/3 of the prior days that you talked about. You said 186. So 1/3 of those is only 62.
Okay.
So we're going to add 100 from this year, 62 from last year. You're only at 162. That's less than 183.
Okay.
You are a non-resident alien.
Okay. And days from 2 years ago only count as a 6. So let's say I was in the U.S. for half of 2 years ago and all of last year. How many days can I spend this year without tripping tax residency? So 1/6 of 183 is 31. 1/3 of 365 is 122. I'm already at 153, so I can only spend 29 days here this year. After that, I would be a resident alien this year. Very easy peasy.
Yes. And again, this matters because typically, generally speaking, resident alien, more tax.
Yes.
So we'd like to avoid that resident alien classification if we can. The good news is F1 students get a big break. F1 visa holders, including those on OPT, are generally exempt from counting days towards the substantial presence test for their first 5 calendar years in the U.S. So during this period, they are usually just flat out, in general, default classified as non-resident aliens for tax purposes.
Yep. And it's important to note that these are calendar years, not academic years. So fall semester of your first year in the program uses up one of your 5 calendar years.
Ugh.
Yeah. That means an international student attending a 4-year academic undergraduate program is already in their 5th calendar year of exemption from their substantial presence test the spring that they graduate.
Okay, so that's an important thing to know.
Yeah.
And although OPT gives someone who earns an undergrad degree in the U.S. the right to continue working in the U.S. for 1 to 3 years after that, it's not necessarily going to prevent them from becoming a tax resident.
Exactly. But now if we consider somebody who's only coming to the U.S. for a 1 or 2 years master's program, where all of your time as a student plus OPT may be exempt from the substantial presence test, meaning you don't really start counting days until you're working on an H-1B visa.
Okay, very important point. Also, is it just me or are we throwing around a lot of acronyms here?
I don't know if they're acronyms because an acronym is like the first letter of every word in the phrase. I don't know what F1 and H1B stands for.
That's a very fair point. It's a great point, but either way, it's a lot of alphanumeric soup.
It is. That I will grant you.
Okay.
Okay, we've talked about what visas international students usually use to study and work in the U.S. We've also talked about the substantial presence test and the 5-year exemption for F1 visa and OPT students. Now let's talk about what all this means for paying U.S. taxes.
Okay, so are we getting to the good stuff?
We're getting, well, I don't know. Are taxes good?
I think in the sense that many of our listeners are sitting here thinking, isn't this a tax podcast? Just tell me about the taxes already. How much tax do I owe? Tax.
Yes. My favorite comment from a student that I've ever had in teaching my personal finance and tax class was an international student who raised his hand after, I don't know, a few days of class and was like, I just want to know how much taxes I'm going to pay. So, yeah.
Don't we all?
Yeah.
My friend, don't we all?
Getting there, buddy.
Yeah.
Getting there. Yeah.
Takes a minute.
Okay. So there can be a big difference in your taxes between being a non-resident alien and a resident alien. As a non-resident alien, you're only required to pay federal and state income taxes on your U.S. source income. which put very simply is income earned from your work here in the U.S. or from U.S. investments.
And that's key because if you have income earned in your home country, including anything like investment income,
Yep.
the U.S. cannot tax that if you are considered a non-resident alien.
That is huge. And here's the real tax party trick for students on OPT
Ooh.
or who do, say, a summer internship while a full-time student. Non-resident aliens are exempt from Social Security and Medicare taxes.
Winning.
Yeah.
Winning.
Yep.
Because if you will recall from several times that we've talked about this and everybody's favorite episode of Friends,
Yes.
FICA taxes are normally 7.65% of your wages. So not having to pay that, that's not nothing.
No, it's a big boon to being a non-resident alien. Finally, most married non-resident aliens have to file separately from their spouse unless they are married to a U.S. citizen or a permanent resident.
Okay, and filing separately could also be a good thing.
Yeah.
It means that your spouse's income earned outside the U.S. is also protected from U.S. tax.
Yeah. On the other hand, married filing separately usually gives you a worse tax answer than married filing jointly. So it may mean that you're not able to claim some deductions attributable to your spouse.
Fair point. So it's going to be facts and circumstances on whether it helps you or not.
Yeah.
Okay, now compare that with the H-1B worker. By that point, for most people, the clock is ticking towards meeting that substantial presence test. And as a result, H-1B holders are typically considered resident aliens. And once you're a resident alien, your tax scope shifts dramatically. You are treated just like a U.S. citizen or a green card holder. And that means that you are going to be taxed on your worldwide income.
Yep.
So if you have investments or a side hustle back in Mumbai, Beijing, Mexico City, the IRS wants to know about it and they're going to tax it.
Yeah. And the FICA party also is officially over.
Was it ever a party?
I mean, I would throw a party if I didn't owe 7.6.
It was the not paying FICA party.
Yes.
Got it.
Yes. So as H-1B resident aliens, you're fully subject to FICA taxes, which is Social Security and Medicare taxes, from day one of employment.
And if all of that sounds like a downside to becoming a tax resident, slow down.
Okay.
Slow your roll.
Yeah.
There is one benefit to being a tax resident over being a non-resident alien.
Okay.
And that is that generally non-resident aliens cannot claim the standard deduction to reduce their taxable income.
Ouch.
Itemized deductions are severely limited too, mostly covering things like state and local income taxes already paid or contributions to U.S. charities.
There may be exceptions to this under the double tax treaty between the U.S. and the country you're from.
Oh.
Yeah. So, for example, students from India in the U.S. on F1 visas can claim a standard deduction under treaty, but pretty much everyone else is SOL.
Okay. I don't know the word treaty. I don't like it. I don't like it.
You don't like the word or you don't like the concept?
I like the concept. I don't like that it represents the fact that then you have to go read a treaty.
Okay.
That's where you lose me.
It's more work. Yes.
It's more work. Okay, so yes, that's a benefit. But once you flip to resident alien status, most taxpayers can claim the standard deduction or itemize their deductions.
So much comes down to that residency status.
It is very important.
Time for the good, the bad, and the ugly, and I'll kick us off because I'm really glad we're doing this episode so that we can finally give some reasonable advice to our international students.
Oh, I'm still sending them to the Office of International Affairs.
Or just send them to this episode.
I will send them here first.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And then I will send them to the Office of International Affairs. No, it is helpful, and it's interesting to me because I didn't know anything about any of this until I got into my administrative position.
Okay.
At IU. And so I do think it's helpful to understand something about the different visa types, about the substantial presence test, what's going to trigger it, what's not going to trigger it, because it is really complicated. And like we said, these kids are dealing with a lot of other stuff. So anything that, someone can do to take this burden off of them, I think is useful.
Yeah. And it's useful to understand that under some of these different visas, you get a 5-year exemption from the substantial presence test.
And also about that FICA exemption.
Yeah.
Love that.
Okay. The bad. I think there's a lot of mental math that needs to go on for some of these students, watching the clock on when the substantial presence test starts, translating academic years into calendar years. It's not straightforward.
It's not. And now I'm also understanding why some students inquire about starting in January rather than starting in August. That makes total sense.
Total sense. You burn up an entire year of your exemption starting in August.
Which is just silly.
Yeah.
So back to the substantial presence test, it's 100% of this year, 1/3 of the days the year before, 1/6. How do we feel about that? Is that logical? Is it good? Is it good math? Could it be simplified? What do we think?
I mean, it could obviously be simplified.
Yeah.
I think I would prefer to see just a single year test.
Okay.
But I don't have a good reason for that other than that would be simpler.
Do we know the history behind the 1/3 and the 1/6,
No.
or it's just like what we were feeling that day?
Yeah, I don't know.
Threes that day.
I think it's not just the U.S. that does that, though.
Interesting.
I could be wrong about that.
Okay. Well, I couldn't tell you if you were.
Okay.
Anything ugly here?
I didn't know, and this is embarrassing to disclose because I teach this. I teach taxes to my grad students, but I didn't know that non-resident aliens couldn't claim a standard deduction.
I don't know if this is going to make you feel better or worse, but I didn't know any of this. So
Okay.
You're ahead of me.
It seems kind of harsh.
It does.
But I guess they're not taxed on their worldwide income, so that's the trade-off. I don't know.
I don't know either.
Yeah.
You'd like to think that there would be some workaround, like maybe you don't get the full standard deduction,
Right.
but you get some ratio depending on something.
Number of days.
Yes.
Something like that. I don't know.
It seems like there's some third option other than full and zero.
Yeah.
I kind of alluded to this earlier, but I don't like having to think about treaties.
Yeah.
And knowing the fact, this kind of is similar to the state tax episode that we just did, like how much of your tax situation depends on the country that you're from and what our treaty with that country looks like. And that you have to know that, right? And that if you're from a country where we don't have a favorable treaty, you can wind up in a pretty nasty double taxation situation, which never makes any sense to me because that's like such a violation of fundamental tax principles. Like, we can't even get that figured out for every other country.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And it makes it hard. Like, I would love to be able to just have one day in my class on, so you're an international student.
Correct.
Here's everything you need to know. I can't do that because I don't know where you're from, and I can't go look up 100 different treaties every year.
No.
It's tricky.
And you don't want to tell them to do it because then ultimately you have to do it. If you have kids from 20 different countries, then you have to make sure that they're interpreting the treaty properly.
Yes. Yeah.
I don't know. I've read a treaty once or twice and it just never made any sense to me.
It's a lot of legalese language, and
like
it's
worse
hard.
than the code.
Yeah, I think so too. It's tough. It's tough to sort through, and especially if it's written in English and English is not your first language.
Excellent point.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. It's a lot. If you had a magic wand and you could change something about this whole situation.
Yeah, I would have one treaty for all countries.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe especially just for students.
Yeah.
Could we do that? Could we have like a simplified...
Yeah, for all students.
For
so I could just tell
F1.
them, here's the answer. It doesn't matter where you're from. Here's the answer.
I like that.
Yeah.
Write that up.
Okay, let's do it. Well, that's all we have time for today.
Be sure to join us for more tax nerdery on future episodes of Taxes for the Masses.